Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Delin Mathew, and I'll be taking you through this beautiful journey of parenting for next 60 minutes. I will be giving a special emphasis on positive parenting, child psychology, empowering children. May I have the first video, please?
अरे मम्मा, कल क्राफ्ट असाइनमेंट सबमिट करना है।
ए सनी, मम्मा क्यों? पापा को क्यों नहीं बुलाया?
पापा को बोलूंगा तो बहुत डांटेंगे। उसके बाद चार्ट पेपर लेने जाएंगे, तब तक दुकान बंद।
और मम्मा नहीं डांटेंगी?
पहले वो चार्ट पेपर लाएगी, फिर मुझे असाइनमेंट में हेल्प करेगी, फिर डांटेगी। मम्मा मम्मा, टेडी नहीं मिल रहा। यहाँ भी नहीं है टेडी।
लेकिन मम्मा को कैसे पता टेडी कहाँ है?
मम्मा को सब पता है कि नोटी टेडी कहाँ कहाँ छुपता है।
बेटा बेटा बेटा,
छिपकली।
मम्मा को डर नहीं लगता?
बहुत डर लगता है, लेकिन मेरे सामने दिखाती नहीं। मम्मा मम्मा,
बट मम्मा को कैसे पता चला पराठे चाहिए?
पता नहीं यार।
हाँ, क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं, बस ऐसे ही।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is parenting? All of us parents know what exactly is parenting. The previous slide, please. Parenting is this beautiful journey what we start undertaking the day our child is born till the time he or she attains the age of 18. Also guiding the child to become a competent adult. But now my question is, as Indian parents, does our parenting journey end at the age of 18? I can give my own example. Like even now, even though I am at the age of 46, when my mother calls me, she asks me, what are you doing now? Have you taken your food? Are you taking enough rest? So all these questions are a set pattern of our parents when they speak to us. Similarly, the most important journey which we undertake from the day our child is born almost till the day we don't close our eyes is this beautiful journey of parenting. Next slide, please. So now I come to the next important question, which is the most important role which we are fulfilling on this earth. Some of you must not have understood the question. So I'll just elaborate it a little more. In my own case, for example, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an employee, I'm a boss. So there are various roles which I am fulfilling on this earth. Out of which is the most important role? God forbid something happens to me, my employer will immediately find a replacement for me, and somebody else might be sitting in my chair within 1 or 2 days. Whereas, can my children have an officiating father? Can somebody replace me within my family? Certainly not. Hence, the most important job which we are fulfilling on this earth is the job of a father or of a parent. Hence, all the more reason why we should be doing it the most beautiful way and learn the best techniques which can be attained over the journey of parenting, bring in a little bit of corrections, and be the proudest father or proudest mother on this earth. Now, the next question is parenting, and next slide, please. Parenting enjoyable? Most of you will agree, yes, it is quite a bit of enjoyment in parenting. But is it only about enjoyment in parenting, or is it that sometimes we do find stress? Is it? Because, when we go for a party somewhere or some ladies get together or gents get together, it is not uncommon to discuss our parenting challenges. Somebody saying, my child is not listening. Somebody says, my child is not able to come out of the screen. My child is not able to do this. My child is not eating properly. So is parenting all about being in the ultimate state of happiness? Might not be. But what can we do to bring in more happiness to our parenting journey? I can give an example. When we are driving on the road, you would have seen these vehicles with L board on it, driving school. So when you look at the person who's sitting and learning to drive, you find a lot of stress on that person's face. Similarly, you go to a swimming pool, you find somebody is trying to learn to swim. This amount of stress, they are trying to breathe, they are trying to hit their hands, legs, and all those things. But somebody who knows driving like us, majority of us, we don't find driving any stressful. We don't find swimming, if you know swimming well. If you want to jump into the pool and start swimming, we don't find it stressful. But the person who's learning to do this is finding it stressful. This is exactly where I want to bring in your attention. If you learn to do this, undertake this journey well, if you do the minor corrections which is required to be done, this journey will become very, very beautiful. This journey will become absolutely stress free. With this brief introduction, I would like to come to the next slide. Next slide, please. To the next slide, which will be talking to us about what are the topics I'm going to cover today. I'll just give a brief introduction about positive parenting. Immediately after this, I'll be talking about some good news for the Indian parents. After that, some parenting myths I would like to bust. Positive ways to deal with children will be the next topic. Punishment, physical punishment, the big question, yes or no. And in the end, I would like to take some questions and answers. There is a scroll which is going. You can post your questions. I might take it in the middle, or probably I'll keep it in the end. In case it is not, it is very, very relevant to the topic which I am speaking, then yes, I will address it immediately. Otherwise, we'll keep the question and answers to the end. First, next slide, please. So first we come about the good news which I wanted to give to the parents. In the world, we can classify our parenting in three different categories. First is known as the Chinese style of parenting. If you see, the Chinese parents does not give too much of leverage to their children. Very, very strict stringent measures are implemented in upbringing of the children. If you see, the world's toughest exam is known as the Gaokao exam. It is the Chinese senior secondary passing exam. It is the toughest exam which is conducted in this world. The Chinese parents does not believe in too much of democracy with their child. Since they have the single child policy, there is too much of emphasis on excelling because they only have one prodigy, and they have too much of emphasis that this child should be the best child in the society. And another aspect is, whenever they are giving choices to their children, they generally give a choice like, okay, today you want to do gymnastics for 8 hours in a day or 6 hours in a day. That's the kind of choices which they give to their children. Doing all load of co-curricular activities and along with academics and also excelling in one vocation is a major emphasis in the Eastern style of parenting. Now we'll come to the second style of parenting, which is exactly the opposite of the Chinese style or the Eastern style, which is the Western style of parenting. Now, the Western style of parenting, majority of us know, gives a lot of freedom to the children to evolve themselves, to learn by exploring, and even the academic curriculum in most of the Western countries, you see that does not believe in giving too much of stress upon these children. They give too much of leverage. A lot of optional subjects are given. There's a whole lot of monitoring by the society to ensure that you are not putting too much of stress on your children. So all these things. So my dear ladies and gentlemen, we have seen those two sides of Chinese style of parenting, two different styles of parenting. Now the middle path is the Indian style of parenting. The Indian style of parenting will be exactly the middle path between the Chinese style and the Western style. Now, in Chinese style, the rules are very stringent. The Western style, it is too liberal. So the middle path we can see is the Indian style. There's a lot of psychologists who have written about this style of parenting because it is considered to be the middle path, and the success of large number of Indian children in Western countries, they attribute to the Indian style of parenting. So my dear Indian parents, it is really a matter of great honor for all of us that we are on the right path. We are always on the right path of parenting. We are not here to speak that, we are not doing the right path, so we need to do this. Yes, we are on the right path, but at the same time, a minor bit of corrections might be required here and there. So this is the good news which I wanted to give. Can I come to the next slide, please? Next, I want to give some thumb rules before we move ahead. First and foremost, remember you are the expert on your child. Delin Mathew is not the expert on your child. You are already doing many things well. Remember, you are doing many things well. If it is working, continue doing. If it is not working, do something different. One plan doesn't fit all. And there are many thought process on parenting. You can choose the best which suits you and your child. You go onto the YouTube, you'll find a whole lot of videos on parenting. One person might speak one extreme, other person might speak the next extreme. But at the same time, remember that whatever is most suitable for your child, you should be able to adopt. Next slide, please. Now I'll come to the first topic, that is the certain parenting myths and realities. Next slide, please. The first parenting myth we have large number of think is all parenting skills are instinctive, which means we think that all the skills of parenting which I have inherited from someone, probably from our parents, or I don't know. There is nothing much we need to do about it. Next slide, please. That is absolutely wrong. When we, for example, I want to construct a house. So will I say, okay, fine, I want to construct a house. I'm not going to consult an architect. I'm not going to construct a civil engineer. I am going to not look at any aspect, interior decoration or anybody. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to decide how much of cement I should put, how much of sand I should be putting, and a whole lot of things. But when we go to construct a house, we always take the expert opinion of all these people, we take them on board. Similarly, none of us are born with any particular skill which is 100% inbuilt in us. We can gain from outside. So the first myth is we cannot be 100% right. We cannot be 100% in on with all the skills. Many parenting skills must be learned through gaining knowledge and experience. And there are a whole lot of mediums through which you can do the learning. Next slide, please. The next myth which I would like to talk is parents can be perfect. Even you listen to all the 3 sessions of mine, I can tell you, you can never be perfect. Because, next slide, please. There is no perfect human being on this earth. That is number one. And our children are also not perfect. Hence, mature adults should just strive to become competent parents and not perfect parents. There will be a lot of challenges. Even I go through huge amount of parenting challenges day in and day out. So remember, we can never be perfect parents, and our endeavor should be to improve on what we were yesterday. Next, please. The next myth is good parenting guarantees good children. Next slide, please. Certainly, to a large extent, yes. Otherwise, why should you be attending this workshop? To a large extent, yes, good parenting techniques can improve our children. But today we need to understand that there is huge amount of influence from other sources, like it could be even peers, could be adults, it could be the social media, which is a huge issue today. And of course, technology has also seeped into our families. So our families are certainly influenced by the outside world. Our endeavor to be to good parents, at the same time try and plug all these unwanted influence which our children are getting into. And the last, next slide, please. The last myth is parenting is always fun. If you see this graph, you will see it's going up, going down, going up, going down. And even in our parenting journey, if you look at ourselves, today I am very happy because my toddler has started walking. Tomorrow, suddenly my happiness crashed because my toddler had a fall. Similarly, my young teenage son, today he achieved something in the school. I was a very proud father. And suddenly, the next day, I found something unwanted in his laptop. So my parenting happiness is gone. So the graph of parenting will always keep varying. Like any other job, our job will also keep, our happiness quotient will keep varying. As adults, we should have realistic expectations about our parenting skills. Can I have the next slide, please? So I come to the next topic, which is the $1 million question: how to deal with our children. Probably the second most difficult question in the world. The first most difficult question is, well, I will not say that. It's entirely up to all of you to judge, to guess what is the most important, most difficult question. I would say this would be the second most difficult question: how to deal with children. Whenever I talk about dealing with children, there's a beautiful story which always comes to my mind. This story goes back almost 100 years, and this is about one of the famous personalities in this country and probably in the world. But I wouldn't like to name that personality because the facts might not be 100% right. But I'll tell you the story to understand how, as parents, how we can influence our children. This gentleman was approximately 20 years of age, and he was in Johannesburg, and he was practicing his law. One fine day, his father walks up to him in the evening and says, "Okay, let's go tomorrow to the town. I had to give the car for servicing. And after that, I have to go for a few meetings. So since you will be free, you can collect the car and we can catch up at a common place. And then we can drive back home." The home from Johannesburg city was about 18 kilometers. He was very happy. This young gentleman of 20 years age was very happy. He decided, okay, fine. He put on his best dress, checked up with his father. Okay, morning, 8 o'clock, they left. They reached the service station, handed over the car. The service station guy said, "Listen, your car would be probably ready by 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. But please come before 4 o'clock to collect this car, because in case you don't come before 4 o'clock, our showroom is going to close. And once the showroom closes, what happens is you can collect the car only tomorrow." So then the father looked at his son and said, "Listen, I have continuous meeting till 5 o'clock. So what you do is, since you're free, you come here by 3 o'clock, collect the car. There's a restaurant nearby, so we'll meet up at the hotel and then we can drive back home together." So it was approximately about 18 kilometers way back to home. Now this gentleman, after handing over the car, his father went for the meetings and he was very happy. He suddenly decided, okay, let me just explore the city. He went around and he found some place where there was some good dance and music happening. He entered there and started enjoying himself. He did not realize how the time was flying by. What he did was, suddenly, when he realized it was already time, he looked at his watch and it was exactly 5 o'clock in the evening. And he knew the showroom would have been closed. Immediately he rushed back to the restaurant. He knew no point going to the showroom because the showroom would have been closed. He decided, okay, fine, I'll give some excuse that the car is not ready or something like that. And then he went straight to the hotel. He reached the hotel around 5:15. To his surprise, his father was already sitting there. Then he asked his father, "Oh, your meetings are over. I've been waiting in the showroom for a very long time, but I waited there till 4 o'clock. The car couldn't get ready, so they asked us to come tomorrow and we can collect the car tomorrow." The father said, "Listen, son, I finished my meetings by 3 o'clock in the afternoon today. I went straight to the showroom, collected the car, and the car is standing in the park." This 20-year-old boy did not know what to say now, because he knew his big lies has been caught. He was totally shocked that his father had walked into the showroom, picked up the car and parked it in the parking, which he did not realize. And he said he'll be able to tell this lie and get away with it. He started profusely saying, "Sorry, I will not do this mistake again. Please forgive me." He kept on weeping. He tried and pleaded. His father said only one thing: "Listen, son, I think I did a mistake. I did not give the right values to you. It is not your mistake. I did not show that right path to you. You did not have the confidence to reveal the truth to me, which means I am the culprit, not you. for which I am going to punish myself and not you. You do one thing. Here is the car key. Take it. Drive this car back to the house. I will walk back this 18 kilometers as a penance for not doing my parenting job well. This gentleman kept on pleading with his father, "Ki, please forgive me this time. This is my mistake. I will not repeat it again." But he would not agree to it. So when it comes to our own parenting challenges, suppose if I as a father was present in that situation, all of us needs to introspect what we would have done. This young boy drove the car behind his father. His father would not sit in the car for all 18 kilometers and went walking. This gentleman kept on crying and walked back home. This is a beautiful lesson which we all need to learn from this gentleman. Because whenever we realize our children have gone wrong, most of the times we say that it is not my mistake, it is my children's mistake. That is where large number of times we go wrong. Next slide, please. We always tend to lose our cool whenever we are dealing with our children. Even in this situation, if we would have been there, we would have realized that, a hit or a shouting would have, resolved the issue. But that wouldn't have drove back that message which we wanted to give our children. This young boy of 20 years age, after that mentions, I would never tell lies ever in my life to my father. And that was the final lesson which he had from his father. And he said, after that, I have never spoken a lie to my father ever in my life. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the difference between a good parent and someone trying to become one is patience. Next slide, please. And also, we as parents, we think that whenever our children are committing something wrong, whenever there is something going wrong in the house, there is always a question, hey, why are they doing this? Why this? Why not this? And we whenever they do more wrong, we try to tighten this environment a little more. If you can read this slide, when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. It's a beautiful quote. Whenever I speak about parenting, I always say it is not the flower we need to fix. It is the environment. It could be something wrong from our side. It could be the peers. It could be a wrong influence in the school. It could be a wrong influence of some technology which is working in his or her life. We need to find what is wrong with the environment. Addressing the problem only with the child might not resolve the problem. Next slide. A lot of research has gone into find out what happens if we impose the physical punishment. So this is where I come to this particular part, physical punishment, yes or no. Now, when we talk about physical punishment, first and foremost, there's huge amount of studies which is gone. And I can tell you with conviction, you check any psychological counselors or any book on psychology which is talking about children, nowhere you will find that you can award physical punishment to the children. Because as psychologists, we understand that you cannot punish or hit somebody who cannot hit you back. It is totally unwarranted to punish someone who cannot be asked to give an explanation or asked to reform themselves. And the physical punishment, what all does it on the child? First and foremost, when you physically punish a child, it is likely to hit their own children who have been hit during their childhood are the ones who generally grow up and go and physically punish their children. Chances of children assaulting back, I've been counseling a lot of parents, I've been counseling a lot of children. One thing which is coming to me again and again is that children are becoming very, very agitative. They're sometimes even assaulting the parents back. But then I always ask, how is it that, when I'm being hit and I'm cornered, is it not a natural reaction for me to hit back? And sometimes the child doesn't realize that, the child has been under so much of pressure that the child might even assault back in self-defense. It might not be, very, very violent reaction. At the same time, we also know that it is children learn more by seeing. So when it is acceptable norm in our house that for a wrong thing, punishing someone is absolutely right, which means that the child also learns that when I go back to school or when I go in the society, I meet my friends, I want to sort out somebody, I can give him one or two nice blows. The children feel helpless. They feel their self-worth and self-esteem is rocked. Corporal punishments always interfere with the right development of the child. You can go through any amount of psychological books. I can vouch nobody will encourage corporal punishment. At the same time, there will be a whole lot of talks which have been mentioned there, whole lot of information which says the proper growth of the child will be interfered in case the child is put through physical punishment. Next, please. Also, there was a research which was conducted in the jails in the US. All the convicts who were put over there was asked what kind of childhood they had. And most of them, without doubt, said that they had a very, very rough childhood. So the children who go through a very rough childhood, there are very, very likely chances of they turning criminals at a later stage in their life. At the same time, all kinds of shouting. We must also understand our children seek huge lot of attention at any given time, at any given stage of life. Whether it is a 5-month-old child, and at the same time, if it is a 18-year-old child at home, they try to seek attention, for which they are very desperate. Now, suppose you have the habit of punishing your child very regularly. No, sometimes they might even repeat something to get the wrong kind of attention. There is nothing called right attention or wrong attention. So attention is attention as far as children are concerned. Children might even start following rules at some point of time because they know if I don't follow this particular rule, I will be hit, I will be punished. They do not realize that this is right and this is how it is supposed to be. They might forget this aspect. So this is what the physical punishment does to the psyche of a child. When they see that it is permissible to punish someone, they learn that that is a mode of expression, a mode of aggression. They learn as a mode of expression. Next slide, please. A lot of study was also conducted. Okay, what is right as far as the physical punishment is concerned? In the olden days, IPC sections used to protect parents and teachers who used to punish their children. In fact, majority of us Indian parents still think that our children, if you punish them, they can go. There is no law which can punish the teachers or parents. Next slide, please. Whereas a bunch of parents went to Delhi High Court, and then a judge gave a very beautiful argument. In a country where even throwing a stone at an animal can be punished, how is it that awarding of corporal punishments, whether in the school or whether at home, can go unnoticed or unpunished? This was the judgment which was given in the Delhi High Court in 2001. And then the Juvenile Justice Act also provides punishment for parents and teachers who awards corporal punishment. So large number of Indian parents who think that it is absolutely acceptable to award physical punishment is wrong. There are sections and rules in the society which can award punishment to the parents who are awarding punishment to their own children or to their own students. Next slide. I would also like to bring to your notice there is one particular study which carried out. If most of you can read Hindi, it is written here. मार खाने के 10 मिनट के अंदर शैतानी शुरू कर देते हैं बच्चे. And this study was carried out in Washington. If you can read this, the study was carried out in Washington. They had placed mics, public video cameras in different corners, and then said they were monitoring some children and they were deliberately awarded minor physical punishment. And the study said that within 5 minutes of awarding physical punishment, the child suddenly started doing it back. All of us would have gone to public places like parks and a whole lot of places. We find that there are some children, the tiny ones who are very naughty by nature. So what happens is they go somewhere, do some mischief, come back to the parents. The parents doesn't hesitate in giving a nice one. But do you think that okay, that nice one was awarded to the child, and suddenly the child is suddenly turned to be a very nice human being, a thorough gentleman immediately after that, and after that the child never repeated that mischief ever again in his life? Can anybody mention that such have they come across any of such incident? No, certainly not, because these kind of punishments is just pushing their threshold level. There are some okay, we can look back to our own days. What happens is when we look back to our own school days, we will have seen all kind of teachers, especially who are in 40s and 50s or late 30s also know it was absolutely all right to punish children at school. So some teachers, a drop of the hat, they used to punish, and carrying cane, using all kind of sticks to punish the children was an absolute norm in the olden days. Today, probably most of the schools have come up with guidelines for not punishing the children. But tell me, all of you, have you had huge amount of respect for a teacher who used to regularly punish you? And sometimes what happens is when the person is in the habit of awarding punishment for smaller things, sometimes they don't do justice because they might be punishing a child for a mistake which the child wouldn't have done or wouldn't even go into the details. Or at the same time, we would have seen some teachers who never believed in punishing or shouting or screaming. They just would make you stand in the class and say on your face, okay, Ramesh or Rajesh, whatever the name is, okay, Ramesh, I never expected you to do this. Please don't repeat it next time. There were some teachers like that. There were some teachers who would just make you stand if you don't do the homework and say, I hope you will do it next day. We had all kind of teachers, but I'm sure we didn't have too much of respect for somebody who punished you for every drop of the hat. And at the same time, somebody understood you, somebody who went into the details about why you did this, why you could not do in a different manner, or why you could improve upon a particular aspect. So I'm sure we had more respect for those teachers, and we remember them. When I have worked in 3 different schools, so I used to always say the physical punishment or awarding corporal punishment is a total no-go. Some of the teachers used to walk up to me and ask, okay, that means you mean to say that we should not be punishing our students? We should ignore their mistakes? I said, no. There are only 2 words to be kept in mind while dealing with children, whether you're a teacher or whether you're a parent. And those 2 words are be polite, be firm. Now, if you keep these 2 words in mind, there is no scope for being harsh, there is no scope for being rude, and at the same time, there is no scope for ignoring their mistakes. I do not suggest that you find something wrong in your house which a child is doing to ignore them just because I've told you not to punish them. You can correct them, but be polite, be firm. If you are polite and firm, your dealings with, in fact, not only children, in dealing with any human being, whether you are a boss in the office, it is not necessary to scream on someone. You have to just be very polite, at the same time, very firm. If your child is not having milk, you bring down the threshold level. There are some parents who will call to the child and say, Beta, why not having milk? I didn't expect this from you. Can you please have your milk? Next time, the please will be a little longer. Can you please have your milk? The child will understand, yes, even though my father will not punish me, he means business. Or my mother is not going to punish me, the child means business. So these are the 2 words to be kept in mind when we are dealing with our children. I would also love to bring in, I have a question from Vikram Subramaniam. He says, kindly let us know how we keep our kids make responsible for their own things and time. Have concern for their grandparents and parents instead of taking them for granted. Okay, I will address this in the end. Let me just continue with the session. We have to understand these 2 words, polite and firm. I'll also like to narrate one more story before I finish this particular aspect of not awarding physical punishment. A lot of us say, so and so is very short-minded, short-tempered. So he can't control his anger. She can't control her anger, but they're very good at heart. They don't mean it. Fine, I agree. So I like to give a story or a incident or imaginary incident. There was a guy called Raju. Now this Raju, he was very short tempered. He was working in office, and one of the days he got a new boss. Raju was around 46 years of age, and his new boss was around 36 years of age, 10 years younger to him. The new boss was really not very fond of Raju. He would pick Raju for every small things. Anyhow, but Raju had to survive. He was doing reasonably well, but Raju was the favorite of the previous boss. Suddenly, the new boss came who was 10 years younger to Raju, but still, all right, things were going on. Now, what happened was one fine day, there was a project which was assigned to another group. Now, Raju was not part of this group for which this project was assigned. But Raju was entrusted with the job because being a senior member of the office, was entrusted to mentor that particular group. Two members, Raju was told to mentor. So he was not responsible directly for the project, but at the same time, he was given the responsibility to mentor. Now, what happened was when Raju was sitting in the office one of these days, the boss, who was 10 years younger to him, walks into his office and starts screaming on Raju, because the project which was assigned to the other group did not find the results at the right time, was not complete. So, even though Raju was not directly responsible for that particular project, he was shouted upon in front of his entire subordinates. Now Raju realized that it's not my mistake. It is some other group which is doing this project. It's purely, I'm not directly responsible. I was supposed to only mentor two boys, young boys, out of that entire group of 10 members. It is not my mistake. But this young chap, the boss, has walked into his office, blasted him early morning around 11 o'clock. He was furious. Raju was absolutely furious. He felt insulted in front of the entire team, his coordinators, his colleagues, subordinates, everyone. He just felt like giving it back to his boss. He told in his mind, let me just hit back at my boss right now. Let me just clarify to him that this is not my duty. I have a different team to take care. Why are you putting the responsibility of that team on my head? But he did not tell that because he knew if he argued back with the boss, he might get a pink slip and he'll be sitting at home tomorrow. He was very furious. But still, Raju could control his anger. And slowly, he mellowed down, probably skipped his lunch on that day, could not put in much effort in the office, walked back to the house. He reached back to his house at around 6:30 in the evening. His wife gave his usual evening tea. He was in no mood to speak to anyone. He was sitting on the sofa having his tea. He didn't speak to anyone. His youngest daughter, around 6 years of age, was sitting next to him. Now, this girl was not very fond of drinking milk. She was a very fussy eater. So her glass of milk was in her hand. His daughter, who was just 6 years of age, she was sipping her milk and not very interested in drinking the milk and involved in all other activities around. Raju was not speaking to anyone. His wife Anita was sitting next to him, trying to find out what happened in the office. But Anita also realized, something has gone wrong in the office. Okay, let me give some time to my husband. So she also didn't speak much. After about 2-3 minutes, this young daughter who was sitting on the sofa suddenly dropped that glass of milk. As such, she was not very keen on drinking the milk. She was trying to keep it here, keep it there, interested in that thing, this thing, and suddenly that milk dropped from her hands. The glass broke, the carpet got spoiled because of the milk which had dropped on. Raju kept his teacup right next to him, got up from his chair and gave a nice slap to his 6-year-old daughter. And he just rushed to his room. That young daughter, 6-year-old daughter, she went back crying to her room and she was inconsolable for some time. And after some time, she became all right. Her mother gave another glass of milk. Reluctantly, she drank and then went off. Evening time, Raju came back to the drawing room. He started watching the 9 o'clock news. His daughter, 6-year-old daughter, was slapped around 3 hours back. comes back, sits in his lap without even remembering that 3 hours back my father had slapped me nice. Sits in his lap, chats with him, and the day is over. She gives a goodnight kiss to the father and she retires to the bed around 9:30. Now I want to compare these two situations which happened in Raju's life. We can all put ourselves in Raju's shoes. Now, when he was in the office, for no mistake of his, he was shouted upon by his boss. He felt terribly annoyed, but he never responded. The reason because is he knew that if he responded, he'll lose a job. Even though Raju was a very short-tempered person, he knew how to control his anger when he required to control it. He came home in the evening, 6:30. After this particular incident has happened in the morning, his mood was off. Naturally, his mood was off. He sits on the sofa, his daughter drops the glass of milk, and without thinking anything, he suddenly places a slap right on her cheeks. Now, if you compare these two situations, what happened? A place where he knew that I can show my anger and nobody can do anything to me, he just responded. At the same time, where he was much more annoyed and he wanted to show his anger, he controlled himself. This is where exactly, my dear parents, I want to bring in your attention. All of us think that, it is so difficult to control my anger. My child is very good at irritating me. How is it that, how can I control my anger? But then place yourself in Raju's shoes. When you had to control your anger, you could. When you didn't have to control, you just let go. Because it is not difficult to hit a child who's 6 years of age, and that child is not going to hit you back, especially to a father who's much elder. My dear parents, please take this home as the introspection for today. If we use physical methods to punish our children, we will be only increasing their threshold level. There are some children who will accept what is it that by addressing the issue, having a one-to-one talk. There are some children who will not even accept by getting physical punishment because we have just increased the threshold level of that child. We have taught to that child that for every silly mistake of yours, I'm going to punish you. So this child is so used to it. So the child's self-respect level has come down. Self-esteem has come down. The self-confidence has come down. Whereas a child whom we have addressed with a lot of respect at every given point of time have understood, yes, there is an issue. I need not be punished for small things, but doing a wrong thing is not acceptable by my parents. My dear parents, please look into this. I will just go through the questions which has come onto the right hand side. How can we get siblings bond with one another? Shine Ahmed has written, I would like to address the question to you as I see you as a career coach as well. Which Indian syllabus is better, ICSE or CBSE? What are the difference between the two? That's a nice question, keeps coming. Gayatri, I have two questions. How can we get our teen kid off gadgets, video games for long hours? Two is how can we make kids have patience in enhance positive thinking? Okay, I'll start from education, then I'll get into parenting. I have some more time left. So first, I would like to address this question on education, which has come. What is the difference between ICSE and CBSE, and which is the best amongst these two? That's a very good question. Since I'm a career counselor, I keep facing this question every now and then. So I'll just compare broadly between ICSE and CBSE. CBSE has got about 22,000 schools in India and 14 other countries. ICSE have about 2,200 schools. So if you compare ICSE 2,200 and CBSE is 22,000 plus. So by sheer volume, CBSE is 10 times more than ICSE in terms of volume. That is number one. Number two, in ICSE, what happens is your syllabus is generally 1 year ahead of CBSE every year because it's a private board. It has not compromised on its standards. Okay, please don't quote me anywhere. I'm not a final authority on ICSE or CBSE, so I'm just giving my knowledge. Please don't quote me anywhere. So ICSE has not compromised their standards. It's a private board. A lot of deliberations go into how the syllabus should be, what should be brought in, what should not be brought in. CBSE, it's under the Ministry of HRD. So a lot of government policies needs to be implemented with a change in government. There's new policies which comes in. So the CBSE keeps evolving, sometimes for good, sometimes for not very good reasons. So that is the two major difference between ICSE and CBSE. Now, like I said, ICSE is always generally 1 year ahead of CBSE. Like if my son is studying in 6th standard in ICSE, which means he is generally studying the standard syllabus of CBSE in ICSE syllabus. So they have two different syllabus. Now, the main difference is when it comes to the senior classes, because a lot of parents I have seen switching from ICSE to CBSE when the children go to the senior classes, because they think that since the IIT entrance examination, that is JEE, is conducted by CBSE, and the NEET exam is also conducted by CBSE, so there is a chance that if my child studies CBSE, there are likely chances that CBSE students might find it easier to crack these two exams rather than ICSE students. But actually, it is a misnomer. What has happened is in 2016, ICSE has matched their 11th and 12th syllabus with CBSE, which means chapter by chapter, topic by topic, 11th and 12th syllabus of ICSE, which is also known as ISC, and CBSE is absolutely same. So whether you study ICSE or CBSE in 11th and 12th, it is same. Whereas the only difference come in 11th and 12th in terms of English. The quality of English in ICSE is far superior than CBSE, because even though they match the syllabus for everything else, they said no, English syllabus we are not going to compromise. So they didn't compromise. So the quality of English is far superior. At the same time, there are some foreign universities in USA and UK which has exempted the 12th standard ICSE students from appearing in their mandatory English entrance examinations, which most of the parents are not aware. In case your child is going to looking to go abroad, there would be some universities who has exempted the children, and this exemption is given only to ICSE students. Out of 28 boards in India, there are 28 boards in India. There are 28 Indian boards. There are some foreign boards also. There are 28 Indian boards. CBSE and ICSE are the top, and majority of the other ones are the state boards. So ICSE has got this advantage. Now, again, when I come to 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, what is happening is in CBSE, the syllabus till 10th standard is very easy. I say it is very easy. I am a career counselor. I worked in 3 schools, so I would say it is very easy. If parents are saying my child is finding it tough to study 9th and 10th standard in CBSE, I would say it is actually very easy. But in CBSE, what happens is from 10th standard to 11th standard, there is a huge jump which the child is taking. And a lot of students I have seen who's performed tremendously well in 10th standard find it so difficult, especially in maths and science, to cope in 11th and 12th in CBSE. Whereas what has ICSE done is they have introduced a lot of their syllabuses in 11th and 12th in their 9th and 10th textbooks. So for an ICSE student, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th is a gradual climb. Whereas for a CBSE student, the student comes, have a cakewalk till 10th standard and does a huge high jump to 11th standard. And now again, this misnomer that if I study CBSE syllabus, there is more likely chances that I'll crack the NEET and the JEE. Again, it's a misnomer, because firstly I said ICSE and CBSE have got same syllabus in 11th and 12th. Now the CBSE board is not conducting these exams, which most of the parents are not aware. Earlier, CBSE board used to conduct till last year. From this year onwards, all these exams have been taken over by an agency called National Testing Agency. So this body is going to conduct all the exams. So this is what the major difference between ICSE and CBSE. Do you have a website or a link? Yeah, I have a website which is called Dream Big Training and Consultancy, dbtc.co.in. So you will find it there. All these about career counseling, parenting, and all those things. Now I'll come to the other questions, which can I scroll up? Vikram Subramaniam has asked, kindly let us know how do we keep our kids responsible, how we are concerned for grandparents instead of taking them for granted. Then also, how can we get our teen gets off gadgets, video games, long hours? How can the kids have patience and enhance positive thinking? Okay. First and foremost, we must understand our children learn by seeing. The mirror cells, there is a terminology called mirror cells in our brains. The mirror cells are very, very strong in our brains. All of us have got mirror cells in our brains. So whatever the children see, they immediately pick up. And we also have this tendency to pick up the negative things very fast. I'm not particularly addressing one parent, I'm generally speaking. So it is something like our siblings, two children are sitting and playing. Suddenly they start fighting and immediately we'll pick that up. We would not be understanding what they were playing, but the moment they start fighting, immediately our brain is picked that up. So there are two things. One is the mirror cells, and second is the negative vibes get into our brains much faster. A lot of news channels use this to their advantage and create a fight, artificial fight amongst the members to get more TRPs. Anyhow, so what I would like to tell is, first and foremost, we as parents have to be role models. There are two more sessions left. Today I'll wind up before 1 o'clock because I've been told to give maximum of 1 hour. There are two more sessions left. So I would be also addressing these issues about how to be a better parent. So there are about 25 tools. I have also written a book on parenting, which is still on the print stage. So there are 25 tools which I have mentioned there. One of them is be a role model. So in that, I always say whatever our children see is picked up fast. So if we are in the habit of respecting our elders, if we are in the habit of giving more respect to it is not particularly to our parents, it is also particular to the people in the society. Because if I respect my parents and speak ill about a person who's in the next house, the children are watching it. Also, I say, always remember your children are watching you. Don't be worried that your children are not listening to you, but be worried that your children are always watching you. So that is one about giving respect to elders. And another thing is there is something called family rules which you can make. Family rules can be, there are some rules which are totally non-compromisable. There are some rules which can be deliberated upon. So when we make these family rules, we can always say not paying respect to the elders at the right moment, at the right time, and fetch you this punishments. In punishments, I don't say physical punishment, certainly not. It could be just taking away the gadgets. It could be, not giving them the weekend favorite meal, or not giving them an outing in that particular month. So this could be whole lot of things. So some house rules we can make. At the same time, we as elders and parents needs to use a lot of method. One is also spiritual method, because our children needs to have three different growth. One is the physical growth, mental growth, and the spiritual growth. So if these three are pumped in together, we always give a lot of emphasis on physical growth. Sometimes, okay, mental growth is also going to school and learning a whole lot of things. And the spiritual growth, large number of times we forget. If we can also inculcate spiritual growth into our children, of course, I'll be addressing this in one of the next sessions. So this will also inculcate a lot of values in them, because large number of times I'm at least realizing that the way our parents inculcate the spiritual growth in us, we are not able to give it to our children, which is creating a whole lot of issues. So I think that is one of the answers. And one more question was, how do we manage the gadgets time during within the children? That was generally the question from Gayatri. So first and foremost thing I would like to bring in is, now this lockdown has created a lot of chaos in our families. Let's be very honest about it. I'm counseling a whole lot of children who have been addicted to smartphones. In boys, it is particularly PUBG, and in girls, it is particularly social media. So these two things have really ruined a lot of lives now, and a lot of children are not able to get back to studies because this lockdown doesn't have a proper routine now. And we are even staring at a future where we don't know when the schools are going to reopen. We don't have a fixed date, and by all probability, it would be not before 1st September the schools are going to reopen. So the thing is, first and foremost, we need to make a routine for our children. And for that, first and best method is call them over, make them sit, tell them in advance, okay, beta, we are going to make a routine for you. I am not happy the way you're utilizing your time, or we need to improve the quality time you're giving to studies or the various activities. So please sit down. Let's make a routine. From tomorrow onwards, we will have this routine. So getting up at say 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. After that morning, say you can take them to the terrace for a yoga or whatever you feel like, or a small walk within the rooms. After that, you can say breakfast time. Then this is the study time. Now most of the schools have started their online classes, so this could be the study time. After that, you can talk about say leisure, some entertainment, family time, spiritual time. So whole lot of things can be inculcated into this. But please ensure that it is more democratic when you are making that routine. Because if you become autocratic and say, okay, tomorrow you'll get up at so and so time, this, most probably it will fail. Be democratic, make your children sit, make them understand ki beta this much of productivity time I want. So this is your online classes time. This is the time for your hobbies, whether you want to play music or do craft or do painting. That's the second thing. Then you need to have a fixed time for the gadgets. Be very, very strict on that. And the gadget times should be preferably in the end, because the gadget time will come with a caveat that if you have studied for this much hours, if you have invested this much time in your hobbies, then you get your gadgets. Now, gadgets. What exactly can you give with the gadgets? I always recommend the children who are young should not be given smartphones. Ideally, I say not before 12th standard, the children should have smartphones. Now, but the parents will have this query that most of the homework which is coming, most of the work which is coming from the school is through the gadgets, through the smartphone. So how can we deny our children from the smartphones? Agreed. Because then what you can do is have a common phone in the house where the child can get all the homeworks. They can be given this gadget for some time, take it back after the work is over. Today, I am dealing with 5 children who are PUBG addicts, boys, and 3 girls who are addicted to social media. So this thing is come as a big hit to our society. Something this the corona, I don't know about more than the virus. I'm so much scared for the future of these young boys and girls, because and the standard thing which you hear from them is, I'm getting bored. So parents find no answer for this question. I'm getting bored. So what they do is, okay, fine. You take this gadget, sit on it for 1 hour. That 1 hour gets extended for 2 hours, 3 hours, and parents also think that's the best way to buy peace and tranquility inside the house. So please understand that fixing the gadget time for the children are very important, and it has to be deliberated once in a month or once a week, or even if it's required, and it has to come like an incentive. Okay, fine, you have studied this much hours, you've done your hobbies, you've watered the plants, you have done this, you helped mama in cooking, or you've washed the utensils. So now your gadget time is this many hours. Also remember one thing, for God's sake, 9 o'clock should be the cutoff time for your gadgets. It should not go beyond that, because I've seen with all these children I'm counseling, all the wrong things are happening with children after 10 o'clock in the night. Because there's a whole lot of gang of boys and girls who suddenly get activated at 10 o'clock in the night. Parents have gone to their bedroom to get sleep. So most of the parents are not even aware. These children are sitting till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they go off to bed. A child, a boy even confessed to me that last 11th-year-old 11th standard boy confessed to me that last 3 years he's been playing PUBG with his friends every day from 9 o'clock in the night till 3 o'clock in the morning. He sleeps at 3 o'clock, wakes up at 6 o'clock, 6:30 his school bus is coming. So you can imagine how groggy he would be in the class, how much of input he'll be getting, and how much of input he can give. So please be careful while you're giving the gadgets. So do children in expensive international school get good education exposure and environment as compared to children studying in average school? This is a question from Archana. Do children studying in expensive school is more well off getting better exposure and environment compared to children studying in average school? So I will not be idealistic. I'll be very practical in giving this answer. To a certain extent, yes. If your children are studying in I wouldn't say international school, a school which is having a lot of facilities and having a whole lot of co-curricular activities, whole lot of space for playing, certainly that children are benefiting from this. Compared to the children studying in an average school, yes, in terms of benefits, yes, because you are paying for it, you will be asking the benefits because I am hearing whole lot of co-curricular activities which is happening. Certainly, yes. But it also has a little bit of disadvantages which come with it because I've seen some international schools where the cream of the city is going. Most of the children doesn't have any challenge as far as academics is concerned. A large number of children I've heard from teachers mentioning, they just come and say, listen, I have my family business. I am not here to score 100 or 100. My parents have sent me to the school, so that is okay. I'm here to just take a 10th pass or 12th class certificate. After that, I have to go look after my family business. So there are a lot of children who come with no academic challenge at all because they are seeing there are 4 cars standing in their house. So obviously they know that I don't have to go earn an engineering degree and start earning to run my house or to feed my family. So those issues are there in these international schools, but exposure is also better. And also the problem of social media is slightly more in international schools compared to average schools. And of course, we can't say just by putting a child in average school, you are simply not going to benefit. It's not like that. There are so many brilliant students who are coming. In fact, if I look at the academic challenge, if you see all these best entrance examinations which are cracked are by students from the average schools because they have a huge academic challenge. They know my parents are not really well off. I need to do something. I need to stand on my legs. Even to buy the first car of my life, I need to earn that money. So both ways, international schools has got their own advantages. Average schools have got their own advantages. So I wouldn't say this is bad, that is good, but both has got its own advantages and disadvantages. Uh, how to make an intelligent kid to study? Okay, that's also a very interesting question. How to make a child intelligent or intelligent child to study? Fine, Psychadatta. Uh, both ways, I would say it is making a child study whether he's intelligent or not intelligent. It's not the question because more or less every child will come at the same intelligence level. There is very one odd child who's specially gifted might have difficulties, learning disabilities, but otherwise I say 99% of the children in the same class would have the same kind of IQ to study. To make the child study, first and foremost, I would say try and find out what is. I'll give my own example. I scored 60% in 12th standard. I'll be very honest in admitting it. The topper in my class scored 89% in 12th standard. So if I compare myself with the topper in my class, what was the difference which was there? It was not that the topper was much more intelligent than me. It was just that I would say I had a little more distractions than that student who scored 89%. So first and foremost, if you can address what is the distractions which is keeping your child away from studies, that is the most important thing. Because I always say it is not about distract intelligence. It is about how you have given that time when you are sitting over there. That is the most important aspect. So that's why I always say whenever the children sit, whenever I do the career counseling for students, what I say is you do one thing. I always give the example of basketball game. So basketball, all of you would have seen this basketball game. The moment the ball goes outside the court, what happens is the stopwatch stops, and the moment the ball comes back to the court, the stopwatch starts. So I tell the children, do this thing in your life. What you should do is whenever you sit on the chair and start studying, make a study time. 6:30 in the morning I sat. 7:05 got up for a cup of tea or going for my washroom. So 35 minutes I've studied. After that, again when I sit, again the clock starts. 7:15 I sat down. Again I got up at 7:45. So again 30 minutes. So I say make a clock work precision for yourself. And then what you should do is clock that time when you are going to sit and study. So with that, we'll have the biggest advantage that the children are not sitting for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Parents are not aware my child is sitting so much, mehnat karta hai, but he's not getting marks. So that is what exactly we should be doing. I think I'm slightly running out of time because I've already got a coup in my ears. Can I have the next slide? Can I? Okay, I've been told I can take more time for question answers. Next one is it right to get mobile phones in libraries or not? Is it from a teacher or a parent? I'm not too sure. Most probably Sanjay Sharma ji, आप एक teacher होंगे. What I would recommend is library is not the place for mobile phones. If you are working as a librarian in a school, or if you are working as a teacher in a school, certainly not, because children should come to the library to read. And reading is a habit which is dying down. So please encourage them to come there and read, not to come and sit on the phone, because phone they can sit outside also. They don't have to sit in the air conditioned library to look at the watch. And okay, I'll okay, I address this. Okay, I missed out one question from Gayatri. That is, how can we make kids have patience and enhance positive thinking? Okay, first and foremost, to have patience, like I said before, parents needs to have patience. First and foremost, I will not mince my words. Okay, you need to have patience. Your children will have patience. Number one, that's the first thumb rule. Second thumb rule is to have positive thinking. You also need to have positive thinking, and then inculcate in them to think more positive. That is something which has to be very deliberate, because large number of us unknowingly, we start cursing others. Probably it might be somebody in the family, so, or somebody in the office. We keep telling, oh yeah, he's an idiot, I don't want to work with him, he's so and so. Like I said, the mirror cells in the child's brain is catching that. So if we can be positive, we are disciplined, we are ourselves having a lot of patience, firstly 50% of the job is done. Second thing is, there are some children who are short tempered. We need to deliberately have patience with them and make them understand that, see, I am not losing my patience on you, I am not doing so and so thing. So why not you copy me? Why do you have to look anywhere else? Because large number of times most of the wrong things are picked up from the parents. And when you ask the children about their role models, except their parents' name, they will tell all other names. Somebody told me, you want to become Shah Rukh Khan. I was speaking to a UKG student in one of the schools where I was working as the principal. So I asked, I have this favorite hobby of going and asking them, who's your role model? So I was going through all the children. One child said, I want to become like Katrina Kaif. Somebody said, APJ Abdul Kalam, somebody said Kalpana Chawla, and exact when one child stood up and said, my role model is my father, I want to become like my father. I was like so impressed with this boy. I asked, what does your father do? And he answered, his father was in a very, very normal job, probably a salary of not more than 12,000 rupees per month. 12,000 rupees per month. Okay, but his aim was to become like his father. So I was so happy to meet that gentleman. For the next PTM, I told the class teacher, I want to meet this gentleman, I want to appreciate him. So if we become role model for our children, we become most of our battle is won, because most of the things, our children are going to school for a very, very limited time, and the maximum learning the child does is from the parents. So I would always say, if we as parents are patient, we are positive, and of course we can inculcate positive values into them. Tell them anything going wrong, you say, okay, something like a small tumbler breaking in the house, you can say, okay, fine, it broke. Firstly, it was 10-year-old tumbler, we can buy a new one. Secondly, thank God it did not fall on someone and break their leg. So we should be thankful for whatever we have. I also have a very beautiful story on positive thinking, but I think my story will take a little long, so probably I'll keep it for the next session. Should we go ahead with more questions, or should we come to the next slide? Okay, next slide, please. How to reading habit. Okay. How to inculcate reading habit. Next slide, please. Is something just now I got a question. Reading habit is actually a dying down habit. I understand that, because what happening is, books are not going to be great friends of children these days. So what we can do is, first thing, Kindle is a very good option. I wouldn't say go for the traditional books, because these days children are not very happy with traditional books because they started connecting traditional books with their textbooks. So because of that, what is happening is, the moment you tell them to read even a storybook, they are getting allergic to it, because they say, no, we've already done enough of studying at school. And now schools are also have started moving into smart gadgets. So children are very gadget friendly. So first and foremost thing is, buy them a Kindle if you can. If they are happy reading a normal book, well and good. But if not, then buy them a Kindle. Start them telling them small stories, and if they find it interesting, then tell them, okay, you can find the story here. So these are the small things which we can inculcate about reading habit. We ourselves need to read. Subscribe for a newspaper in case you don't have. Tell them to understand the general knowledge. Tell them, in future, if you don't have general knowledge, your soft skills development will not happen, and you need to understand these things. So these are the small things we can inculcate in our children to improve their reading habits. Subscribe them for a good library, whether it is in the school or it is in the society, anywhere. Encourage them to go into the library, pick up the books of their choice. Initially, they might pick up very small books, but that's okay. Slowly, they will find it interesting. Keep some time. I'd seen a beautiful poster, some cartoon somewhere. A lady is sitting and reading the book, and there's a small child sitting next to her and reading the book. There is another mother sitting on the next bench. She's on a gadget, and her child is also on a gadget. And this mother is asking, how do you encourage your child to read book? And it was self-explanatory. The mother who's asking is on a gadget and the child is on a gadget. And the mother who's sitting on the other bench is reading a book and the child is also reading a book. So a lot is learned from the parents. Physical, mental, and spiritual growth, productive time, gadget time, distractions. Okay. I think somebody summarized it here. Family rules, physical, mental, and spiritual growth, productive time, gadget time, distractions, patience. Yeah. Thanks, Shoreen Kadam Yagnik, for summarizing what I've said. Thank you so much. I'll come to the second last slide, and this is about the next session. Whenever we have, I'm not too sure. Udchallo is hosting this sessions for us. So whenever is the next sessions, I will be first talking about different parenting styles and their outcome. Next will be about, I'll be loving to talk about child abuse, which is coming up in a big way, including online child abuse. Next will be respect, a very important key factor while dealing with children. Effective communication, importance of communication, and how to empower our children. Would be the next session whenever we have some Sunday afternoon, we'll be having it. And next slide, please. In the last session, which will be the third and the final session, I will be giving a whole lot of tips how to be a super parent. Like I said in the beginning, you are all good parents. Okay, I would not say you're bad parents. You're all good parents. So I want you all to be a super parent. So there will be a whole lot of tips for becoming a super parent. Need and benefit of career counseling. Since I am a career counselor, I would love to speak about career counseling. How and be a proud parent, and finally A to Z of parenting. And that will be the question and answer session. Next slide, please. I would like to also introduce myself. I've been okay. We'll see a video and then we'll go to the next slide. Is it the video or the next slide?
Oh, Jephtha.
मॉर्निंग वाले बोरिंग सारे कामों को फन करते हैं, नींद भगाओ ब्रश कराओ डेडलाइन से भी लड़ते हैं। पंजर पंजर साइकिल पंचर डटकर हैंडल करते हैं, होमवर्क कराओ दवा पिलाओ चोटों से भी लड़ते हैं। मेरे पापा सब कुछ करते हैं, लंबी लंबी चौड़ी चौड़ी बाहों में पकड़ती है। मेरे पापा क्या क्या करते हैं, मेरे पापा सब कुछ करते हैं। स्माइल करके मूड बदल दे,
5 मिनट।
ऐसा मैजिक करते हैं, हाथ बढ़ावे, मुस्कुरावे,
डू सर।
हर मुश्किल से लेते हैं।
चलो बेटा आगे बढ़ो।
बल्लेबाजी वो पहचान बताएं।
हो गया।
छोटी गलती, बिग मिस्टेक, हंस के हैंडल करते हैं।
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते मैम।
आपकी बेटी ना बहुत अच्छा कर रही है। पापा,
ये देखो मेरा रिपोर्ट कार्ड।
अरे वाह मेरे बच्चे।
आप बिल्कुल चिंता मत कीजिए।
थैंक यू।
पापा क्या क्या करते हैं।
अरे यार, मेरे बच्चे ने स्कूल में कमाल कर दिया।
9 into 3,
27
39 into 49.
हर काम में साथ साथ में हाथ पकड़ के रखते हैं।
नहीं आता।
फिक्र करो, इन नजर रखो, इन दिल से लगा कर रखते हैं। मेरे पापा सब कुछ करते हैं।
हेलो रमेश।
पाटिल छुट्टी पे हूँ यार, 2 मिनट बस दे। 1 2 3।
धूम धड़ाका, सैर सपाटा, ये दिल से करते हैं।
क्या मिस्टर सिंह, आज मॉम ड्यूटी?
नहीं, आज पेरेंट ड्यूटी।
मेरे पापा क्या क्या करते हैं।
Next slide, please. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I've taken most of the questions, and I'm sorry in case I've missed out on any of the questions. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Delin Mathew, have served for more than 23 years in the Army, and I'm right now a career counselor. I'm a parenting coach and also a psychological counselor. I would love to work with any one of you who wants to take career guidance for your children. And that is about me. And I'm really thankful to Chalo for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on parenting. And like I said, we have 2 more sessions to go. I am really not sure on the dates, but certainly we'll all connect. Thanks a lot for all of you for next slide, please. All of you for being of such a wonderful audience. And Sorin Kardam, again, thanks for summarizing this whole thing. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all. Happy parenting. Be a proud parent. Thank you so much.